What's going on, guys? Today is day one of our 3-day toy hunting weekend in Melbourne, the vintage toy and collectible capital of Australia, and we're kicking things off with the incredible Lobos collectibles. Let's rip into it. It's been about 2.5 years since I last visited Lobos Collectibles, Australia's biggest and quite possibly best vintage toy store, and walking through those doors was just as overwhelming as I remember. Joining me this weekend is my buddy Dean from Totally Taylor Retro Hunters and also his dad Stan, and those boys are visiting Lobos for the very first time, so it's really cool to see their reaction to the place. Between Dean, Stan and I, there's a ton of variety in what we collect, but there's something for all vintage toy collectors at Lobos, so it's safe to say that no one's leaving empty-handed. The first cabinets that I make a beeline to when I come here to Lobos is their awesome vintage TMNT cabinet. We've got a beautiful large scale Krang's Android body there, complete with the correct Krang, the antenna intact. That's amazing. But definitely a couple of figures here I'm looking at. We've got the Bride of Frankenstein April O'Neil from the second wave, the 1994 Universal Monsters crossover line. Something I'm having to think about. Another one that I'm thinking about here, I only just bought one of these figures, and that's the Monty Moose from 1992. It's complete, the one I got, but the antenna's broken off. We've got a beautiful one intact here. So, I don't know, it seems kind of silly to buy the same figure, twice within a few months, but I don't know, that Monty there is in beautiful condition, so I might have to do the upgrade with him. I've also got a couple of other figures I'm after. The Movie 3 Leo is one that I need, as well as the Toon Leo down here, but just so much awesome vintage TMNT action. So after a little bit of deliberation staring at all those loose vintage TMNT figures, I settled on this complete Monty Moose as my first pickup of the day. Now sure, I only picked up this figure relatively recently, but the version that I have has a broken antler, and I thought this version here was really well priced based on condition and completeness, so I bit the bullet, had the guys grab this out of the cabinet, and this started my pile. So there was no better place to start my day than Lobos' killer selection of vintage TMNT. Got some of the mint on card figures over here, so nice. We've got a beautiful graded robotic Bebop there, that's awesome, but yeah, just too much to look at. First stop of 3 days toy hunting in Melbourne, so some tough calls are going to have to be made, but I don't know, I just love it. So just like last time I was here at Lobos, the selection of Dino Riders is unreal. It's a toy line that, like I've mentioned before, I would definitely go hard in on if they were a little bit cheaper and a little bit less prone to breaking, but check this out. We've got a Super Doe Dino Riders modelling kit. And what about this thing over here at the back, the boxed late wave Quetzalcoatlus. Very, very cool. But so many incredible Dino Riders. Including a bunch of the Ice Age Dino Riders as well in this really cool display. Check this out.
We must be in one of Earth's ice ages.
What about the dinosaurs?
Well, they've been extinct for quite some time. We're in the age of mammals.
Just an absolutely incredible selection of Masters of the Universe here at Lobos. I'm not much of a Motu guy. I definitely appreciate the vintage figures, just a touch before my time. But you've got to love the random merchandise. Like, check this out. Masters of the Universe toothpaste toppers. We've got Skeletor and He-Man. We've got a Princess of Power Ben Cooper costume set there, which is really cool. We've got stamps and just so much more. And obviously, you know, the flagship, the carded figures. Looks like we've got some graded figures. And all the Lucy's over here as well. I mean, this store just has way too much to film. I've just got to pick out little bits and pieces to share. Here we've got what might be one of my favourite sections at Lobos. We've got all the boxed Tycho Crash Dummies toys, along with a really cool Toxic Crusaders annual. I'm not sure I've seen this set before. This is actually really cool. It's a breakaway die-cast Crash Dummies car set, but interestingly released by Matchbox in 1992 under the Incredible Crash Dummies license. It's got all the accessories, all your witches hats, your street signs, your breakaway sign. I thought that was really, really cool. Something I had no idea existed, even though I'm quite a big fan of the Incredible Crash Dummies figure line. And then we've got some beautiful Toxic Crusaders stuff. We've got a boxed Turf Surfer, which is awesome. We've got a loose... Oh, in fact, that's the Turf Surfer that goes with that box. That's awesome. We've actually got a couple of carded Skeleton Warriors from Playmates. They're always cool to see. Unfortunately, not the one figure that I'm still chasing for Skeleton Warriors. We've got the Hideous Hovercraft from Toxic Crusaders back there. And then we've got all the loose Crash Dummies. So cool.
When dummies get behind the wheel, it's their job to crash.
I'd like to see you do that again.
Whatever you say, kid. Crash!
With a crash car, they meet everything head on.
I just love going to pieces. Don't you be a dummy. Buckle your safety belt.
We've got the Junkyard playset there that I already have, that I've unboxed and reviewed on the channel before. And then we come down here, we've got some really cool Street Sharks. A line that I've collected over the years. I'm not really chasing any of those at the moment. I've been on the hunt for the Mighty Max section at Lobos. I've found it. I was kind of hoping I'd see a complete Doom Zone that I didn't have. There's only two that I'm chasing complete, and that is Sync's Nautilus, which is over there, the snail, but it's just the shell. Now over here we do have a Traps Ratus that is incomplete because he's missing his ears, but I have the ears. I've got an incomplete version with the ears, but without the whiskers. That's got the whiskers, which when you open it up is a giant spider. So I'm actually thinking about taking a flyer on that Traps Ratus set. I don't know what else is in it. I'll have a squiz, but I think if I can combine that with the version of Traps Ratus that I already have, I can put together a version that at least looks complete from the exterior. So I reckon we'll be grabbing that. But a bunch of other cool Mighty Max stuff here, just sets that I already have, including that Zomboid there, Neutralizer Zomboid, which is probably my favourite of the horror heads. And then you've got the Skull Mountain back there, which I don't think is complete, but I can have a squeeze at that as well. And then you've got the beautiful boxed Blast Magus. There we go, yeah, the Pro. Oh, okay, there's a little bit more than I was expecting. We've got the Rat minifigure, yeah, I'm getting this. the little tiny rat minifigure with these parts as well. Yeah, he's a grab. It's a beautiful thing. Now, I was considering grabbing this incomplete Mighty Max Traps Raddus Doom Zone playset just for the Arachnid, the spider minifigure that forms the whiskers of the rat when the playset's closed. But when I opened this up, and in addition to the Arachnid, also spotted the Rattus minifigure and the Sewer Plague vehicle as well, I knew this thing was coming home with me. And when I combined this with the other version of Traps Raddus that I already have in my collection, this was gifted to me by a friend of the channel and a fellow Mighty Max collector, Brad, so shout out Brad. This version has the ears and the Mighty Max figure that this version here from Lobos is missing. So when I combine the two, I got a nice complete Mighty Max Traps Raddus playset, and I'm able to tick another Doom Zone off. So it's now 17 down and just 1 to go. Great Superpowers selection here, the vintage Kenner Superpowers line. We've got some carded figures, a bunch of loose figures, a couple that I'm still chasing. Firestorm there. That Shazam is really nice with his cape. We've got a Hawkman over here. Mine is missing the mace, so that's a cool one to see. Nose looks to be in pretty nice condition. A lot of them get that nose rub. And then we've got Brainiac up there as well, in front of that beautiful Hall of Justice. And then down here we've got some more carded figures that have actually been graded, including that Canadian small card Superman, which is really nice. And we've got the Wonder Woman on the small card as well. And then we've got some really cool Tonka Supernaturals down here, which are awesome. Now, when I first saw that figure in the middle there, the Lionheart is a figure that I've been on the search for ages, and he is complete. I thought I was going to snap that up in an instant. When I have a closer look at that tag there, unfortunately his arms have been glued in place, so I might skip it for that reason, but I don't know, I'm still tempted. And then we've got the Tomb of Doom boxed, which is amazing.
Follow the skull to the Tomb of Doom. Put evil skull in the creepy coffin. Turn the key. The ghost world's got him. Spiders, bats, and snakes appear. The way to the ghost world is full of fear. Is it a ghost? Is it a man? Ah! It's a hologram.
Get a load of this lineup of Dukes of Hazzard and the A-Team. These aren't lines that I collect, but they look so cool on display here. This is so well curated. A nice selection of loose A-Team figures along with some in-package items behind them. I mean, one thing that Lobos just nails is their displays. I mean, even lines that I don't collect, I kind of am drawn to just because of how beautifully they're displayed. And then down here we've got the Dukes of Hazzard, we've got the General Lee, some of the vintage figures. We've got a Dukes of Hazzard calculator, we've got the game, just some really, really cool pieces here. So we've got a couple of Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure items from their vintage Kenner line that I'm looking at. We've got the Wild Stallions Jam Session 2-pack, complete with the box and the amp, which is awesome. They actually got a couple of the Jam Session 2-packs. I don't know if that's something I necessarily need. I've got the Bill S. Preston figure loose with his guitar from the Jam Session. I'd love to pick up the Ted loose. I don't really need the amp or the box. But we've also got a Genghis Khan figure from the line with the card back, but it looks like it's actually open. So I don't know, I might have to have a look at that because I don't think I'm about to find a loose and complete version of that figure. So I'm thinking I might have to take that home with me. We'll see how we go, but yeah, it doesn't look like it's sealed, so I think that might be a pickup. I've got the Bill and Ted Kenner Genghis Khan. I had a look at it earlier in the cabinet. It has indeed been opened, which is perfect for me because I won't feel guilty in ripping this thing out, and I'll have a nice card fresh Genghis with the drum set with the sticks. And then I just got to chase the Abe Lincoln, the Billy the Kid, and that'll do me. I have them all complete. Happy days. And here we have Genghis Khan free from his plastic prison. He looks awesome with his tunic and his battle staff, but when we take off the tunic to reveal his Wild Stallions tank top and we split the staff into his 2 drumsticks, Genghis is ready to shred on the drums and just looks awesome. Now, I picked up a small lot of these 1991 Bill and Ted's Excellent Adventure figures by Kenner about 3 or 4 years ago now, with a Bill, a Ted, a Rufus and the Grim Reaper all complete with their accessories and their instruments, and it's just such a fun toy line, but it's been years since I've been able to add to that collection, so I'm stoked that I can now add a drummer to my Wild Stallions with Genghis Khan.
Now on drums, that bodacious barbarian Genghis Khan! Yeah, our new pal from old China. Excellent! Let's rock and roll!
This is by no means a complete tour of Lobo's collectibles. There's so much there that I've not captured because, you know, I've focused my attention on what appeals most to me, but there was so much more. Really strong representation from iconic vintage toy lines like Transformers and also G.I. Joe, something I know my mate Andrew from Keep On Collecting would have been all over, and also an incredible selection of vintage Star Wars, including a display recreating a lot of iconic scenes from Star Wars films using vintage Star Wars figures, vehicles and playsets. If you follow my channel, you know Star Wars is definitely not my thing, but how the heck can you not appreciate this? These incredible displays honestly had been momentarily considering diving into Star Wars. Speaking of Star Wars, Lobo's had a full wall of carded vintage Power of the Force and other Star Wars lines, but among all those Star Wars carded figures, I spotted some classic vintage movie tie-in lines. There's an absolute ton of racks of carded figures here, and a lot of it's newer stuff that's not really up my alley. But there is a few really cool vintage spots among here. We've got Kenner Terminator 2, we've got some Demolition Man and Last Action Hero action going on. And then down here we've got the Dick Tracy figures on card. So we've got a Tramp, we've got a Shoulders. Now I prefer these guys loose, but that is a really nice Shoulders, and I don't have his studded bat. And then we've got a Lips Manless here, and I don't have any of Lips accessories. So, I mean, part of me wants to buy that at $49 on a yellow card and open it, but I might just have to have a hunt around and see if they've got any loose Dick Tracy figures floating around with accessories, because I definitely need those concrete shoes and I need that holster and that pistol as well. I was thinking about it, but I didn't end up grabbing that carded Lips Manless figure. As much as I want that figure complete with those accessories, and to me, $49 isn't an awful price for a carded Dick Tracy figure here in Australia. I've come to realise that I just don't have the heart to open vintage toys unless they're already falling off the card like that Genghis Khan was. So I decided to give it a miss, and I'll be keeping my eye out for complete Dick Tracy figures over the course of this 3-day toy hunt trip. Not just all the major toy lines, like there's just a lot of random novelties and knickknacks. You've got the Kevin McAllister Home Alone doll there in the back. I have no idea what this ruler thing is down here, but I absolutely love it. I don't know, that might be a Goosebumps item, I'm not too sure, but whatever it is, it's cool as heck. Over here we've got an itty bitty bin, a staple of the 80s and 90s Australian kids' bedroom. And then if we come down here, we've got Coneheads figures, we've got Troll Warriors figures. I can't really tell exactly what these are. I think they might be Pirates of Dark Water. Now we've got some cool gross out stuff. We've got some of these, what I assume are vintage Garbage Pail Kids little pop-up toys. And then we've also got some of the smack ups. If you follow my channel, you know that I've got a lot of love for the 1986 skateboard smack ups by Playtime, and you very, very rarely see them loose. So, I mean, I've got the line complete now, but I just love seeing these still out in the wild. And then we've also got some Snailians here as well. Shout out Scree. One thing I was definitely keen to find at Lobo's was some vintage Universal Monsters figures from the 70s or 80s, ideally something from Remco's 1981 Mini Monsters line. Unfortunately, on Lobo's Universal Monsters and Horror Toys shelf, they didn't have anything from the lines that I'm specifically chasing, but they still did have some really cool vintage monster toys. So this is really cool. I've been over here in the Universal Monsters section, just asking Dennis about some of the vintage items he's got, and he just drew my attention to this Mummy's Curse set from Toys and Things. Not sure exactly when this was released, but I love it. Might have to do a bit of extra research on this figure. This is just really, really cool. With the sarcophagus, with the spiders, and the mummy itself glows in the dark, which is really, really cool. I also saw the Arco branded Mummy's Curse action figure set that the Toys and Things version, I suppose, knocked off or ripped off, and it was really cool to look at those two side by side and spot the differences in the packaging art and the toy itself between the two releases of the Mummy's Curse. Done like 4 laps of Lobo's by this point, and I've only just now noticed that within the vintage Motu section we've got a vintage Titus, and not only that, but the arch nemesis Megator as well. I've never seen these guys in the flesh. That is so cool. So the vintage Megator with a repro weapon, and then over this side we've got the Titus. And just an incredible selection of vintage Masters of the Universe. Aside from the toys, what makes Lobo's Collectibles so special is the ambience, the checkered floors, the soundtrack of old school music and cartoons, the pinball and arcade machines, the old displays, the candy, and the fact that everybody that walks through the door, from the staff to the fellow customers, have a shared love of all these old pop culture relics. So today was awesome. As you can see, Lobo's Collectibles is incredible, and while there's so many other vintage toy and collectible stores and a giant toy fair that I can't wait to check out during our 3 days in Melbourne, there was just no better way to kick things off than with a toy hunt at Lobo's. Shout out to the Lobo's crew for looking after us. It was awesome chatting with the owner, Dennis, and telling him about some of the lines I collect and the things that I'm looking for. And I hope I didn't chew his ear off too much, but I just had a blast chatting with Dennis. Dino and Stan scored some absolute beauties as well, so be sure to check out Dean's video from today over on his channel, Totally Taylor Retro Hunters, and I'll include a link to that in the description below. Truth be told, our original plan for today was to hit up a bunch of additional places after Lobo's Collectibles, including some antique markets with some vintage toy sellers, as well as a comic store. But between delays getting into Melbourne and Lobo's requiring a full 3 hours, that will do us for today's adventure. But don't worry, over the next couple of days in Melbourne, we make up for lost time by hitting up all of the key places that we missed today, in addition to another amazing vintage toy store, one of the greatest toy fairs that I've ever been to, and another sneaky trip to Lobos. So make sure you stay tuned for the next couple of videos that capture our next 2 days in Melbourne, but that will do us for today. I hope you guys enjoyed this video. If you made it this far, you're a dead set champion. As always, you're more than welcome to hit us up on Instagram at Crusher Collects. I hope to hear from you in the comments, and until next time, cheers.